Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Hypnotically, where we explore the application and benefit of hypnosis with professional hypnotists. And today we have Tracy Iceland, and she is a professional hypnotist who graduated from our training program in 2019. She has a really cool origin story of where she came from, how she got interested in hypnosis, and I'm going to have her start with that. So welcome, Tracy. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. I just love the work that you're doing. And so tell us how you got started in hypnosis. What made you want to be a hypnotist to begin with?
So my degree is in human resource management and business, and I ended up working in casinos and hotels, and I was really good at developing my employees, the team, the staff. And I'd always been interested in counseling and those kind of things. I just decided I needed a change in 2019, and I had a little bit of experience with hypnosis. I had had a girlfriend that I had gone with, and it was a local hypnotist, and it was down a dark hallway in a back dark room, and he let me be in there with her. Otherwise, I don't think she would have done it. So it just didn't feel super professional, but yet at the same time the
Okay.
results were great. She went for anxiety with her horses, and she didn't have a problem with it after that. And I thought, boy, when I loved the idea of maybe tying it with a little bit more of a professional setting. I really wanted to not do it
Okay.
out of my house. I wanted to have an
Mhm.
office. And actually, when I came across it and your information online, which was wonderful, and I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it from the best. And I really, we had wonderful reviews and that kind of thing. So it just like, you know how sometimes there's like that divine intervention feeling and things just fall into place. And so it did. And so I flew out to Bellingham, Washington, and did that training with you. And although I had an inkling that maybe it's something I wanted to do, I wasn't solidified in the idea of using it as a business until I went through the training. And I felt like the training was so very complete, not only on how to be the hypnotist, but also how to set up the business. And so I think that really gave me a sense of confidence.
That's amazing. Isn't
Yeah.
that lovely when things just seem so synchronous like that? And it's just telling us that this is exactly the right way. And that does grow your confidence. And so, can you tell us about a client's story? Tell us one of your clients that has gotten some relief.
Sure. So this is the most recent, and it wasn't an intentional client, but I just went on a trekking trip to Nepal, and it was my roommate, which is a friend of mine, and she has a severe fear of heights. And so that was the one thing that she was really worried about on this trip because there's very long, high suspension bridges, a number of them. And so as we were rooming together, I'm like, we can do hypnosis before we go to bed. She was also struggling a little bit with getting to sleep because of course there's time differences and that kind of thing. And so I did hypnosis session for her, knocked her right out. And we
Uh-huh.
did it over a fear of heights, and she successfully navigated those suspension bridges. And before we were even finished with our trek, we were only in a few days after she'd went through her first suspension bridge, because it was a big one. She immediately left a review with photos. So I was pretty happy about that because it was an impromptu client and I didn't really plan on it, but it was wonderful that it worked so well in that situation for her. So I was pretty happy.
Really good job.
Yeah,
Isn't
thank
it nice to be of service? Isn't it nice to be able to help people right where you're at? Whether it's, I'm afraid of flying, I'm afraid of driving, I have a test that I need to pass, I'm not sleeping well. Hypnosis is just really practical. And that's part of the intent of this podcast is to help everybody recognize how
you.
practical it is and that you can
And
use hypnosis.
I've had that test client, the sleep client, the fear of heights client, the fear of
Yeah.
flying client, and fear of the phobia client. Another client, probably one that she's been the most vocal. So I've gotten a ton of residual clients from her, but she had such a claustrophobia issue that she could not put her head in the bolster when getting a massage. She couldn't be in an elevator. She couldn't ride in the back seat of a vehicle without being completely uncomfortable. And she needed to do an MRI at some point. And so it was a series. I think we ended up doing 3 or 4 sessions for her, but she was able to do all of those things. And she's just been such an outspoken client hero for me. And that was a couple of years ago. And I still have people that call. She
What
was
was some of the insight that you got from that you learned from working with her? What was some of the things that really helped her transform?
That's a good question. I think, her just that fear. So when working with a client and learning how that fear comes up in the body and how it first starts to manifest, and it's a little different in every client. Working with her, then I was able to find out how that happened with her. And then we were able to deal with that early onset. So when it first starts to come up, she was able to gave her some tools and she was able to deal with that. And so that was, I think, the key piece to that for her.
Good job. Good job. We're often going to do that would be called like a bottom up approach, right? Because it's a physical, it's in what we would consider the unconscious mind, the body's consciousness, right? And for a lot of our clients that are experiencing overwhelming anxiety or overwhelm in general, it is a bottom up approach. We can be thoughtful and use hypnosis and guide them and do insight based hypnosis, which I'm sure that you also did.
Right.
However, when the feeling is coming up in the body, we need to give our clients tools for anti-anxiety and acute anti-anxiety because otherwise they feel out of control. And so one of my favorite across the board, and I love this question, so I want to ask you, Tracy, but I like to think about what is the one tool that I really wish I would have had when I was a kid, right? We learn all sorts of things when we're younger. And I've thought, okay, Erika, if you were going to go back and teach your 5-year-old self something, what would it be? And I think it would be the anti-anxiety. How do you know you're anxious? And when you start to feel that feeling in your body, there is something else that you can do. And it sounds like you did that work with her to such a degree that it was transformational.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like what you said, there definitely are those two aspects. It's you can be aware of what's happening in your body, but then this hypnosis itself actually goes into the subconscious. So even though
Yep.
your reactions become a little bit easier, a little calmer, a little better, you've got a buffer there. It's like then that awareness as well. So those two things together, I think were incredible. Because sometimes I'll have a client and they'll say, "Why this is changing for me," and I don't know that I really felt anything different, but the results are there. I'm getting those results. And so it's
We need
not as
both.
much,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not as much the insight or that awareness. It's just that subconscious change.
What's your favorite technique?
Breathing, I think, is that the right question? A favorite technique is the teaching the breathing exercise.
Breathing is my favorite technique too. We can get really good at breathing. What do you do in a moment of stress? What is the technique that you turn to for anti-anxiety and how does it actually roll out? Can you tell us? Can you walk us through a
Yeah,
scenario
so
of
yeah, and I use it as my induction as well. So one of the things I like to tell my clients is at a minimum, whatever you're coming in for, you're going to walk out the door with, besides dealing with that issue, you're also going to walk out with some tools that are going to help you deal with that anxiety, give you a sense of internal peace. You're going to know inside that you can deal with anything. So that gives you a little bit of sense of calm that's just underneath that just helps you get through whatever's coming. So personally, I have a vagus nerve issue. And so in the past, I used to pass out, like when I would go to the hospital or once they would take blood or anything like that. And since 2019, since I've been practicing hypnosis, I have not passed out. And I've had a couple times when thank you. I've had a couple times when I've been close, but then I immediately go in, I'll slow down my breathing. I will pay attention to where I'm holding my anxiety or that tension in my body, and I'll literally walk from the top all the way down, and I'll just release all that tension and really work on that nice, slow, deep, rhythmic breathing.
Can you do it for us? Can we walk through it right now?
Yeah. So my induction is focusing on the breath and
Mhm.
breathing in nice and slow, being very intentional with the breath. breathing in, filling up the lungs, filling up the abdomen completely, and then slowly exhaling. And by doing that, you're signaling to your mind, to your emotions, and to your physical body that is your intention to relax. And when you practice doing that, the minute that you intentionally start to slow the breath down, everything responds by relaxing. So that's one of the things I tell because every client that comes in, we're constantly fight, flight, freeze, fawn, everything's coming at us. I'm like, you need to take the time, whether it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, to sit and consciously slow everything down. And so that's the first step in the induction. And then the next step in my induction is I want you to start relaxing all of the tension from the muscles. And as that tension is released and relaxed, you're going to feel a nice heavy feeling that's going to set in. And it's going to be something that's different than what you're used to, because when that tension is held in all of those muscles and parts of our body, when you release it, it feels this comfortable, deep, heavy feeling of relaxation. And so then we'll go from the top down, and I'll explain that when you start to feel any tension or anything like that, or even if you have a minute in between phone calls or during your day, slow your breath and then release all of that tension and let everything reset. And so then your mind isn't going Mach 90 and it has a chance to flip. It's, that when we're pushing ourselves to get something done and we push and we feel like we're going backwards, instead stopping and taking that moment to reset, not think about anything. And then boom, all of a sudden, you're able to move forward and make progress on whatever it is that you were working on and that you were stonewalled on.
How are your clients walking through the body? Are they starting at the top of the head?
Start by relaxing those muscles in the very top of your head and your scalp. Allow your forehead to soften and relax your eyebrows. Relax the little muscles around your eyes. Allow those muscles in your cheeks to soften, to relax. Relax those muscles in your jaw. Imagine that any tension in your neck becomes like a liquid traveling down your neck, going over your shoulders and leaving your body through your elbows. And relaxing those shoulders intentionally, letting them slump, droop, really letting them slouch. Let all of that tension just drop, and fall away. Relax those muscles in your chest, then in your upper back. Allow that feeling of relaxation to travel all the way down those muscles along your spine, letting it settle into the lower back, opening up and relaxing the hips, those muscles in your pelvis, the muscles in your stomach. As you relax those very large muscles in your upper legs, let your legs sink into the chair, relaxing the muscles in your calves, feet, and all the way to the tips of your toes. Now you're going to notice that relaxation already settling into your arms, gently tugging on your shoulders. Relax all the way into your wrist, your hands, and your fingertips. And then send a nice relaxing wave from the very top of your head all the way through your body, just relieving any little last bits of tension, allowing all of the bodily functions to relax, to renew, allowing your body to re-energize, your mental thoughts to clear and stabilize, and those emotions to just relax and balance out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was great. Now, I'm pretty easy as far as hypnosis goes, but that was amazing. It just takes a second when we put an intention, and your voice is really super soothing. So thank you, Tracy. That was really probably only a couple minutes. So I hope everyone who's listening can recognize that in moments, we can feel better. And you mentioned the intention, right? The intention is so important. I notice that when I'm riding my bike or walking, I often find myself in a hurry for no real good reason. I'm just
Yeah.
going as quickly as I can, right? And that kind of happens in life too. We're just racing from here to there. And, something like this, and that's why I wanted you to walk us through it, because it's like a body scan technique,
Mhm.
right? It's a moment. We go to the restroom. Nobody has a big deal about going to the restroom or
Right.
going and getting some coffee. So let's intentionally, specifically, when you go get coffee and when you go to the bathroom, that's the input and the output.
Mhm.
Let's at the same time do something for our mind. A lot of people will go on a walk, and that's usually really good because now we're serving the body, but that's not always possible. So something like this, something like a 2 minute, a 3 minute body scan where in between calls, you go to the restroom, you grab your coffee, you're on your next Zoom, right? And so you just sit there and do this really amazing body scan from the top of your head, the tips of your toes, listening to your loving voice, very comforting. That can change everything right there. You can show up to that Zoom call. You can, whatever it is that you need to be doing that day, you are going to be more focused and follow through on what you want, pretty much, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in your body instead of all over the place.
What would you want your clients out there who are listening, right? They're listening, they're thinking about hypnosis. What do you want everyone to know about hypnosis?
I'll tell you what I've been so impressed about, and I joke with my clients when they come in for that initial consultation. I'll be like, okay, it's going to sound crazy because it's so simple, but it works. It just works because it takes you into your body. It takes you into your subconscious. You can truly reprogram. I mean, I've had a gentleman that smoked for 30 years, and I was worried about this because he smoked in his vehicle and he had to drive to and from the job. And he quit after one session. And I was just, yeah, so amazed. And so it's as long as they're ready and they're setting their intention and they come in, it really works and it can really help with anything. I've done that creativity block. The one thing that I've done too is I have on my website or on my scheduling app is you can schedule what's called a massage for the mind. And so what I really like to tell people is hypnosis in general, it's great to overcome whatever, to dig out past stuff. If you've got issues you need to move forward from, get rid of it. But also, it's like you get a massage for your body all the time when you might go once a week. And sometimes we just need that 20 minutes or half an hour of somebody or even a recording and doing some self hypnosis where you're feeding your mind with all of the positives. Like I joke, I just get to sit there and tell you all the amazing, wonderful things about you. That's like my job for that.
What a joy.
Absolutely. It just feeds me. A lot of clients are like, oh, you talk a lot. And I'm like, I really do, but I love it. I enjoy it. So I've added that a little bit to the repertoire so that people can come in and we can just do something quick. And so if you're hitting a slump, you had a bad conversation with a sibling or something happened in your life and you just need a quick pick me up, it's no different than a massage for your body. Just doing something for your mind to just put you back on track is huge.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for doing that. And it's so true, right? We need to take the time. And like the alpha sequence, which is a hypnotic induction, I've always called that a no thing technique because the intention of the alpha sequence, the hypnotic alpha sequence, is to take you to the still point, which is nothing basically. It's not asking you to think about something, consider something at all. And hypnosis does this very well. It allows us to, some people are going to try and escape with alcohol or food or check out or whatever it is. Hypnosis really gives us the power to check in instead of checking out,
Yeah.
right? And so instead of, oh, I need to escape, I need to get out of here, anytime, and this is for me, so you don't have to take this advice, but anytime that I find myself saying, I want to get out of here, like, I don't like this, anything like that comes up, I have been retraining myself to say, Erika, it's not about checking out. Anytime you feel like you want to escape, what you really need to do is check in. And so it's exactly what you're saying. Do hypnosis, do that body scan, check where you're holding tension in your body and release it, sink in deeper, allow your body's wisdom to take over. Because for sure, and this is why I love what you said, how simple it is, because it is effortless, right? We want to get rid of tension and we want what we're doing in hypnosis. So it really is effortless to some degree. And how quickly do we feel better? I mean, for you, what you just did with us was minute and a half, 2 minutes,
Yeah.
3 minutes. Doesn't
Yeah.
take long.
Nope, not at all.
Doesn't take
Nope.
long.
It's
Yeah.
been an absolute joy. And just I think the feeling of being able to truly help people. And I don't think
Mhm.
I'll ever cease to be amazed at when I have a client. I had a client recently that showed up the next day with flowers and was like, thank you so much. And she literally looked like a different person. We had a session and it was just a very transformative. It actually ended up being a past life session, which is not something
Yep.
that I intentionally went into,
Mhm.
but it has come up in my practice a couple of times and has really provided some life-changing results for those people. That was your sister. Knowing now the deep feelings and that could you forgive her for making that decision? Or a daughter, and she said yes. And I'm like, you need to forgive yourself. And the minute she did it, she did that, and it was electric. The room was electric. The situation was electric. She actually had a divine intervention kind of situation that came into her, and she hasn't since, and that's been a couple of years now.
Would you like the secrets to becoming a professional hypnotist in 2024? Then grab our new guide, Transforming Minds, the ultimate guide to becoming a professional hypnotist in 2024. It's available at cascadehypnosistraining.com/guide. cascadehypnosistraining.com/guide. I love how you leveraged the technique of using a loved one. Meaning, if this was happening, if this was your daughter, if this was your sister, in a lot of instances, we will make use of something like that when clients won't do it for themselves. So, thank you. I think that is some of the most powerful work. One of my clients was not standing up for herself. She had been abused at home, at school, by her mother, by her stepfather. The school didn't stand up for her, and she wasn't standing up for herself. So I needed to use the same type of technique if this was happening to your daughter. Would you be angry about it now? And she was livid. And I said, okay, now I need you to take that energy and recognize that it's you. It's the 16-year-old version of you.
Yeah, I
Changed
love
everything.
that.
She
Yeah.
walked out of there with so much power, right? And your client walked out with so much, what sounds like so much peace and understanding.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
Good job. Really good job, Tracy. How can people get in contact with you? Where's your website and information?
So my practice is calming wave
Mhm,
hypnosis. And so my website is calmingwavehypnosis.com. You can also
mhm.
find me on Google. Google is my friend. So
Uh-huh.
I have my business on there, and my business is located in Spearfish, South Dakota.
What have your clients taught you this year or recently?
So much. Probably the first thing that I learned from starting to do this is that we are all so similar. And when someone comes in for something, you're not alone. Things may manifest a little differently, or insecurities may be caused a little slightly differently, but we all have those same core things, issues that we're constantly trying to work through and overcome. And so that was huge for me. And it's also been huge for me to help try to communicate that to my clients so that they
Mhm.
don't feel like they're crazy or alone, or because at this point, I'm like, nothing sounds crazy. And then I think every time that I do a session with someone else, it also feeds me. And I always learn something out of every single session that I do with someone. And so it's like my growth is happening at the same time that I'm helping my clients. And so this has been the most incredible job, a career that I could ever have asked for. So thank you for
Great.
your, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. What would you say to someone thinking about becoming a professional hypnotist?
Yeah, if it is something that you're feeling drawn or called to, I believe that you need to look into it because right now we are in a mental health crisis in this country, in this world. And the traditional route of therapy has a lot of holes and there's not enough people in there. And so we need more people helping people. What's that saying? We're all just walking each other home. And so this is
Yep.
a way to help do that. And it's very significant. One of the things that you had given us, or whatever the images was about that hypnosis can do in 6 sessions, what other kind of therapies do in significantly more, even years of therapy. And I have had
Yep.
multiple clients come to me and validate that and say that very thing. Say, I have been going to therapy and working on this for years. And what we just did in the last few weeks was over and above so much greater. I got so much more out of those few sessions than I have out of years of traditional.
Years of
So,
therapy. One of the reasons for that, right? We think that not all therapy is tapping into subconscious, right? So there's a lot of conscious blockage that's happening there. We're not really getting to the point sometimes in therapy. And so it's true. A lot of our clients are coming to us and saying, I've been in therapy. One of my clients was in therapy 25 years and she didn't make a lot of progress until hypnosis. Now, we don't know what would happen to our clients if they're not in therapy. There's a lot of probably excellent work being done, but you're right. There are ways that we can help people, and not all of our clients need to go into therapy, right? It's like with hypnosis, the everyday issues that we get to help people with, they're not able to fall asleep. They're getting too anxious. They can't stop the thinking mind. They're procrastinating. They can't get over it. They can't stop eating too much. So it's some of these things that people might not necessarily go to a therapist for, but they're still really horrific in their lives. And so we get to provide a really nice place to help people, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, for being here today. Thank you for all of the great work that you're doing in the world, for being able to be of service just wherever you are, whether it's in Nepal or somebody who is afraid of spiders, but then also being able to take that into the much bigger picture, right? So helping folks with these long-standing issues, and she's not suicidal anymore. And then all of the work that you're getting out of it too, right?
Yeah.
The personal experience of helping people with hypnosis. It's a very fulfilling job.
Yeah,
Thank
really.
you. Thank you for all that you do. I'm Erika Flint, professional hypnotherapy instructor, board certified hypnotist. Join us for live training. We teach live almost every single week. So if you'd like to be a professional hypnotist, please go check that out now. That's at cascadehypnosistraining.com/guide. Once again, thanks, Tracy Iceland, for being here today. Such an honor to have helped you in your original training, and you've just taken it and helping so many people. So really proud of you. Thank you so much.